This film begins with a flashback to 9 months ago in Barcelona, Spain, where a group from the Drug Enforcement Administration is in action. During this mission, DEA agent named Alex Walker gets a big shock when someone suddenly points a gun at him. Now, in the present day, at an American military base in Cebu, Philippines, we see Alex getting a medical checkup with Dr. Sarah Patel. He needs to get some health papers because he wants to retire early and get benefits. During the checkup, it turns out Alex recently had a mild heart attack. So, he needs to keep getting checkups. At that time, Dr. Patel gives him a special watch that tells him when his blood pressure goes up. She also tells him to stay away from stress to keep his health in check. Later on, Alex starts his new life after retiring. He plans to open a souvenir shop called Paradise Shop on a beach in Cebu City. He rents an old shop from Cory Santos to set up his shop and also live there. When he first gets there, Cory warns him to always pay his rent on time. Meanwhile, a group of local Filipino gangsters, led by a guy named Kobe Rodriguez, met with a notorious drug dealer named Jimmy Teo. Jimmy suddenly stabbed Kobe to force Kobe's gang to protect him and help distribute his drugs in America. Back to Alex, who was at a bar. He noticed a pretty woman named Kai Mendoza being approached by a man with glasses named Ernesto Alamares, who had a gun. As a former DEA agent, Alex became suspicious of Ernesto and wore a special bracelet to monitor his blood pressure if he got too stressed. Soon after, two gangsters approached Kai and Ernesto, making Alex think Kai was in trouble. Then, he decided to step in and fought off the gangsters, only to discover later that Kai and Ernesto were undercover cops trying to catch criminals. Because of his actions, Alex was arrested. Kai's boss, E.K. Ocampo, found out from the American embassy that Alex was a retired DEA agent who had worked on many missions. During questioning by the Philippine police, Alex explained that he acted only to help Kai because he had seen the gangsters with dangerous weapons. After proving his innocence, Alex offered to help the Philippine police catch the drug-dealing gangsters, but Kai and her team initially refused his help. After going home to paint his shop, Alex, who used to work for the DEA, was suddenly attacked by a stranger. Luckily, Alex managed to get the gun away from the attacker and handed him over to the police. Thanks to this brave act, EK, Alex's boss, finally agreed to let Alex help his team catch drug dealers in the country. In a meeting, Kai mentioned that a local dealer named Kobe had gone missing. There, Alex added more details from his DEA days and mentioned that he suspected the drugs came from China, Taiwan, and Malaysia, based on what the attacker had said. Alex, Kai, and another agent named Ernesto then started watching a group of drug dealers. Alex was right about his suspicions when he saw the dealers board a cruise ship flying the Malaysian flag. Pretending to go to the bathroom, Alex noticed two dealers handing over money to Teo, a major dealer, who then hid it in a cupboard full of guns. When Teo came back, he was shocked to see Alex on the ship. Teo's men pointed their guns at Alex, but Alex calmly suggested they work together instead. He explained that despite his 15 years at the DEA, he felt unappreciated and got no real benefits. Meanwhile, Kai was listening to everything from another ship, using a device that let her hear from far away. Back to Alex, Teo seemed interested in Alex's plan, which included a way to smuggle drugs into America. Alex even said he'd bring $2 million in cash that he claimed to have taken from one of Teo's rivals. Teo agreed to work with Alex, but warned him to stay serious or he'd end up like another gangster Teo showed him, frozen solid in ice. When Alex and his team got back to the police station, Alex was surprised to see Walton Zivic and his DEA team there, ready to take over the case because Teo was a big-time international drug smuggler. Alex used to work with Walton, but didn't really like him being in the Philippines. This was especially because Walton knew about the issues Alex had with another agent, Todd Carpenter, in Spain, which led to Alex retiring early. There, Walton told Alex he didn't want him involved in the Teo case, which annoyed Alex even more. Later, Kai visited Alex's shop to talk about the investigation, but found Alex passed out in the bathroom. After he woke up, Alex admitted he had drunk too much because he was upset that the DEA hadn't appreciated his hard work fighting drugs. He also shared how he had seen colleagues die and had almost been killed by Todd, another agent who was supposed to be on his side. Now with Walton around, Alex felt even less motivated to fight drug trafficking. Hearing Alex's tough experiences, Kai took him to her hometown where her nephew had been killed by drug dealers. This tragic event had made Kai determined to stop drug trafficking, which she believed could destroy many futures. She tried to convince Alex to help the Philippine police again in their fight against drugs, but Alex initially refused. Later, Ernesto also tried to persuade Alex, and eventually, Alex agreed to continue their mission to catch Teo. Soon after, they quickly set up a plan to trap Teo. There, Alex met with Teo, pretending to have $2 million as he had promised earlier. During their meeting, Alex told Teo he had set up a trap to get Teo's gang arrested by the DEA, who were already surrounding the area. Alex suggested that if Teo didn't want to go to jail, he should follow his orders. Hearing that, Teo agreed and quickly followed Alex's orders to burn all the stored drugs and then escape. On the other hand, the DEA agents, listening through a device Alex had, were fooled and didn't find any drugs at the warehouse. At the ship, Teo, feeling tricked by Alex, pointed a gun at him. Just then, Kai and her team arrived and arrested Teo for the murder of Kobe. At that time, Teo tried to escape, leading to a chase where Alex and Teo ended up in the sea. Then, they fought in the water, but Alex's martial arts skills helped him overpower Teo, and the Philippine police arrested him and some of his men. On the other hand, Walton, who found out that the Filipinos had successfully caught Teo, was annoyed because he couldn't take credit for the arrest. A few days later, at Cebu International Airport, two security officers named Kidlat Luzon and Lester Cordero noticed a plane landing illegally. They confronted the pilot, Klaus von Buren, who was responsible. At that time, Klaus tried to bribe them to stay quiet. However, Lester refused the bribe and told Luzon to call their boss. But turns out, Luzon was tempted by the money and decided to kill Lester so the illegal landing wouldn't get reported. On a different day, Alex was shaving when he noticed the tap water at his house was cut off. As he went to ask Corey, the shop owner, about it, a little girl named Rita Cordero teased him about his appearance with shaving foam. In response, Alex playfully put some foam on Rita's face. When he talked to Corey, she told him she had turned off his water because he was late paying the bill. Alex ended up having to use a bucket to carry water back to his house. Meanwhile, Kai and Ernesto got news of a body found on the beach. When Ernesto checked, he was shocked to find it was Lester, one of his students who had tried to join the police academy but didn't make it. On the other hand, Rita, a kind little girl, helped Alex fetch water with a bucket. Alex knew Rita as the daughter of Pilar, a cleaning lady in the area. To thank her, he let Rita pick out a souvenir from his shop. Soon after, Rita found out that her father, Lester, had been murdered. She was very sad and cried at the police station when she learned her father was gone. Seeing Rita so upset, Alex decided he wanted to help Kai and Ernesto find out who was behind Lester's murder. Then, Alex met with the two Filipino police officers to discuss the case, and from a mark found on Lester's neck, Alex suspected that the killer used a special folding knife. On another note, Alex had a routine checkup with Dr. Sarah, but he hadn't been keeping track of his blood pressure in his journal. Because of this, Alex couldn't get all the documents he needed for his retirement funds. After the checkup, Alex went to the police station to watch Kai's interrogation of Luzon, who had been on duty with Lester. During his confession, Luzon claimed he didn't know what happened after he last saw Lester at 6 a.m. From the interrogation, Alex felt that Luzon was lying based on how he acted when answering Kai's questions. Soon after, Alex and Kai went to a hotel to keep an eye on a female mobster named Catherine Himmel, who had just arrived in Cebu. Alex knew Catherine was an international smuggler and wanted to find out what she was doing in the city. At the hotel, Catherine and Klaus were waiting for someone who never showed up. Catherine decided to leave a message with her bracelet at the reception desk before she left the hotel lobby. Alex saw this and worked with Kai to distract the receptionist so he could swap Catherine's message with a fake letter. In the real message, Catherine asked the reader to return her bracelet to hotel room 21B at 8 p.m. Curious about who would come for the message, Alex stayed in the lobby and saw a man named Max come to pick up the fake message. Alex, pretending to be Catherine's bodyguard, took Max to his souvenir shop. After Max admitted he had never met Catherine before, Alex called Kai to come and pretend to be Catherine. Kai then knocked Max unconscious. Soon after, Alex had Kai gather information about Max, while he planned to meet Catherine, pretending to be Max. Meanwhile, Ernesto, another police officer, was chasing Luzon, who was trying to escape. Ernesto finally realized that Luzon was part of a local Cebu gangster group. At the same time, Alex, with Kai watching from a distance, managed to deceive Catherine and her bodyguard. He was even invited to a nightclub by the mafia. There, an entertainer teased him, causing his blood pressure to spike, and when he went to the bathroom to check it, he fainted. On the other hand, Kai, worried because she couldn't reach Alex, hurried to the club. Fortunately, Alex regained consciousness and rejoined Catherine, who then demanded payment for some goods she had prepared. However, Alex refused, insisting on seeing the goods first. Meanwhile, Ernesto found Luzon hanging out with his gangster friends. Using his martial arts skills, Ernesto managed to defeat them all. At the same time, Catherine took Alex to her plane hangar. There, Alex discovered that Catherine and Max were involved in human trafficking. Despite Kai telling him to wait for backup, Alex started fighting Catherine's men alone. Seeing this, Kai and several police officers near the hangar rushed to help him. Together, they were able to capture Catherine and her group and rescue the girls who were being trafficked. Shortly after, Sarah treated Alex's wounds from the fight. She praised him for saving many girls, and Alex mentioned that he thought of his daughter while rescuing them. One day, Nina Rosales, the governor of Cebu, was shocked to find someone pointing a gun at her when she walked into her office. 3 days before this, Kai was called to Ike's office, who was her boss. There, Ike asked her to keep an eye on Governor Rosales. At that time, Kai found this task odd and suspected that Ike wanted to find dirt on Nina because he was planning to run against her in the next election for governor. Meanwhile, Alex was having lunch with Ernesto at a shop owned by an elderly man named Bayani. During lunch, Alex saw some gangsters trying to beat up Bayani. Seeing that, Alex jumped in to help, but Bayani surprisingly told him not to get involved. That night, the gangsters came back, beat Bayani severely, and even set his shop on fire. Because of that, Bayani was taken to the hospital, and when Alex and Ernesto visited him to ask what happened, Bayani wouldn't talk about it. Back to Kai. She started her job of escorting Governor Rosales during her campaign. Nina, aware that Kai worked for Ike, was wary and thought Kai might be spying on her. At that time, Kai tried to assure Nina that she was just there to provide security, not to spy. Soon after, a Canadian businessman named Paul Montrose visited Nina and unexpectedly tried to bribe her to help launch his business in Cebu. Meanwhile, Alex and Ernesto were chasing the gangsters who attacked Bayani, eventually catching one of them. However, when they questioned him, the gangster wouldn't say who had ordered the attack, which frustrated Alex. At the same time, Kai reported to Ike that she hadn't found any evidence of corruption or wrongdoing by Governor Nina Rosales. After giving her report, Kai was surprised to see Paul, the man from Canada, arriving at the police station to meet with Ike. This made Kai suspicious of Paul's activities. To figure out why Bayani was attacked, Ernesto set up a bait by opening a restaurant on the beach. Just as he suspected, some gangsters showed up and threatened him, demanding he shut down the restaurant because he didn't have permission from local authorities. During this confrontation, Alex stepped in and claimed he was in charge of the place, which provoked the gangsters into attacking him and Ernesto. The two easily overpowered the gangsters, who then confessed that Paul had ordered them to drive all the shop owners out of the area. Switching back to Kai, she kept an eye on Paul after he left the police station. She followed him to the port where he bribed an officer to process his container. When Kai checked the container, she found it was filled with garbage, which deepened her suspicions about what Paul was really up to in Cebu. At the same time, Alex disguised himself as a shop owner to meet Paul, while Ernesto was in charge of watching everything from a distance, ready to help Alex whenever needed. Ernesto even quickly pulled Kai away from the area so Alex's plans could go smoothly. Meanwhile, Paul, thinking Alex was meddling in his business, had a sniper ready to shoot Alex. On the other hand, Kai, using long-distance communication tools, informed Alex about her discovery of the containers filled with trash. This led Alex to suspect that Paul was trying to find land to dump large amounts of trash by getting support from Nina and Ike. When Paul found out Alex knew his secret, he became angry. However, Alex then offered to help Paul win Ike's favor so his plans would go smoothly. Interested in this offer, Paul agreed to work with Alex. After their meeting, Alex met with two colleagues who had learned that Paul was a former political consultant in Canada, now working with Catern Ltd., a waste recycling company that was secretly dumping leftover materials into oceans around the world, harming the environment. So, Alex and his team started making plans to catch Paul. The next day, Alex set up a scheme with Paul and his men to switch real election ballots with fake ones to ensure EK won the election. But then, an officer carrying the real ballots was knocked out by Alex, allowing Paul and his men to switch them. After completing the task, Alex asked Paul for the promised payment, but Paul planned to eliminate Alex instead. Two of Paul's men prepared a high-voltage stun device to use on Alex, not realizing that Ernesto was hidden among them. After Paul left with the real ballots, Alex and Ernesto jumped into action and took down Paul's men. On the other hand, Paul was shocked to find that the bag he thought was filled with ballots actually contained trash. At that moment, Alex and his team confronted Paul and told him to go back to Canada because his scheme had failed. However, Paul, angry and desperate, confronted Governor Nina with a gun and demanded that she allow him to dump his trash in Cebu, offering her a bribe which she accepted. But it turned out that Nina was actually setting a trap for Paul. She agreed to the bribe only to catch him in the act, and with the bribe as evidence, Paul was arrested by the police. His recycling company was then banned from operating in the Philippines, and many waste containers were removed from the island. Interestingly, EK had only pretended to be Nina's political rival to help expose the illegal garbage dumping in Cebu. Elsewhere, an underwater photographer named Jessa Torres was diving in the Olango waters when she spotted two foreign divers acting suspiciously. Seeing Jessa as a threat, they shot at her with fish spears. Meanwhile, Alex, a former DEA agent, was stressed because he didn't win the lottery after his retirement benefits were not approved by the American government. This financial strain led Corey to keep nagging him about overdue rent, forcing Alex to look for additional work to make ends meet. At the police station, a man named Julio Torres was very upset because his wife Jessa had been missing for 3 days. Kai quickly calmed Julio down and then reported Jessa's disappearance to her boss, EK. Meanwhile, a documentary film actor named Jerry Westwood had just arrived in Cebu and was greeted by his fans, including EK, who introduced him to the film director, Andre Adam, and his producer, Nikolai. That evening, while Jerry was having a drink at a beach bar, he accidentally ran into Alex. During their meeting, two drunk men started causing trouble, but Alex used his martial arts skills to handle the situation. Impressed, Jerry watched as Corey suddenly showed up and suggested that Jerry hire Alex as a stunt double so Alex could earn enough money to pay his overdue shop rent. At the same time, Kai visited Julio's house to gather information about Jessa's activities before she disappeared. There, Julio showed Kai several videos of Jessa working as an underwater photographer. The next day, Alex, who had been hired as Jerry's stunt double, was on a ship preparing for a film shoot. Unfortunately, Alex had to learn how to use various new diving equipment that he was unfamiliar with. Meanwhile, Kai visited the diving equipment shop to borrow some gear and learned from the owner that Jessa had not returned the equipment she borrowed a few days earlier. Seeing Alex struggling with the equipment, Kai offered to train him on how to use it. That night, while Alex was learning to use diving equipment with Kai, they stumbled upon a camera underwater. Suddenly, they were attacked by two other divers who shot spears at them. Thankfully, Alex and Kai managed to escape unharmed and quickly swam back to the beach. After hearing about what happened, Ernesto suspected that the attackers were treasure hunters, since the waters around Olango are known for shipwrecks from past wars. Soon after, Kai and the others watched the video footage from the camera they found, which shockingly showed the same two divers attacking Jessa. On another day, Alex joined Jimmy's film crew to start shooting in the Olango waters. At that time, Alex became suspicious of Nikolai and his team when they chose this particular dive location. While checking his diving suit, Alex didn't know that Nikolai secretly had a gun hidden under his clothes. Once they were at sea, Nikolai quickly had his team start taking pictures covertly, aware that the Philippine military was patrolling the area. Feeling that something was off about the whole setup, Alex discreetly hid a small knife under a table on the ship's deck. Back to Kai, who was still reviewing Jessa's video recordings, she discovered footage of Jessa finding a Soviet submarine propeller. This discovery tied into what Nikolai's team was doing. Turns out, they were actually dismantling the submarine under the pretense of filming a documentary. Once they achieved their goal, Nikolai and his team took Alex and Jimmy hostage on the ship's deck. Fortunately, because Alex had hidden the knife earlier, he was able to free himself and Jimmy from Nikolai's men. Meanwhile, Kai tells her boss EK that Adam, who claims to be a film director, is actually a former Soviet Union submarine captain who escaped with millions in gold bars, and now his submarine is stuck in the waters of Olango. At the same time, Alex and Jimmy, who had reached the port, fought against Adam's crew and managed to overpower them. Soon after, the police arrived to arrest Adam, who was suspected of hunting for a Soviet submarine. There, Adam laughed because he was not after the gold, but was actually trying to sell a nuclear device to a regional dictator. Adam then triggered the nuclear device to explode in 6 hours, but accidentally set it for 6 minutes instead. Everyone panicked, especially since Adam forgot the code to stop it. Luckily, the device was defused when Alex cut the red cable following Jerry's instructions, who recalled bomb defusal techniques from his time filming with an explosives expert. After this ordeal, EK received widespread acclaim for his team's success in stopping Adam's plan. Meanwhile, Kai had the sad job of informing Julio that Jessa had died. In his shop, Alex was happy because Jerry gave him a classic revolver as a souvenir. Later, Alex disguised himself as a buyer for illegal long-barreled weapons to trap a Russian mafia boss named El Diablo. When the mafia fell for it, Alex signaled Kai and Ernesto so that the police could swoop in and arrest El Diablo. Then, after successfully helping the Philippine police, Alex earned some money and used it to pay his house rent to Cory. Recently, Ernesto informed Alex that El Diablo had been taken by the American Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Concerned, Alex hurried to the police station despite an incoming rainstorm. At the police station, Alex expressed his frustration to EK for allowing the Americans to take El Diablo, fearing it could give the mafia a chance to help him escape. During their heated discussion, the police were busy dealing with a group of men arrested for causing trouble while drunk. Meanwhile, the police were also handling numerous storm-related complaints, including helping a girl and her grandmother who needed aid sent to their village. At that time, Alex tried to find some assurance by speaking with a staff member from the American Ministry of Foreign Affairs named Miguel, who promised to continue the legal proceedings against El Diablo. Feeling somewhat reassured, Alex decided to head home, worried about his shop getting damaged by the storm. However, shortly after Alex left, the previously arrested group of men, who were actually El Diablo's men, caused a commotion. They planned to free their boss and started using weapons found at the police station to fight the authorities. Unable to return home due to the worsening storm, Alex decided to head back to the police station, which was now in chaos. Finding the station closed, he tried to peek through a hole to see what was really going on inside. Inside the police station, El Diablo and his men were also stuck because of the rainstorm. To create a distraction, El Diablo's men attacked, and during the chaos, Ernesto was shot, and other police officers, including Kai, were taken hostage. Meanwhile, Alex, after hearing about the trouble at the station, sneaked in through the basement. There, he found Kai and Miguel locked up in the underground prison. Using his belt, Alex quickly broke into the cell to rescue them before the area could flood. At the same time, Ernesto managed to convince one of El Diablo's men to let his colleague fetch a medicine box from the basement. While searching for the cell key, Alex spotted Ernesto's colleague and the mafia members entering the basement. At that time, Alex cleverly used this situation to knock out the mafia member. Ernesto's colleague then went back upstairs alone, causing the other mafia members to become suspicious when they heard his explanation that their fellow member had gone looking for food in the basement. Doubting the story, El Diablo sent more men to check the basement. Meanwhile, Alex managed to find the cell key but was caught by El Diablo's men. He had to fight them off quickly as water was starting to flood the basement, putting Kai and Miguel at risk of drowning. Fortunately, Alex won the fight and dove underwater to unlock the cell door and save his friends. Soon after, El Diablo and his men were startled by Alex's voice over the loudspeaker. Thinking Alex was in Ike's office, the mafia sent their men to take him out. However, working together with Kai, Alex was able to defeat all of El Diablo's men who attacked. Meanwhile, Ike asked Detective Rabara to take on the professor's murder case before he went back to Manila. Hearing that, Rabara agreed but insisted that Kai become his partner on the case. Kai was okay with this arrangement, and while they were working together, Rabara told her that he believed a police officer was behind the professor's murder. Alex, however, didn't trust Rabara's theory and decided to sneak into the crime scene to do his own investigation. While he was investigating, Kai and Ernesto unexpectedly showed up and wondered what Alex was doing there. Kai was disappointed when she realized Alex was conducting his own investigation because she felt it showed he didn't trust Rabara. After Kai left, Alex shared his findings with Ernesto, suggesting something odd about the professor's death, and asked Ernesto to check the professor's laptop, which had been secured before Rabara could examine it. Back with Rabara, he conducted an experiment that involved Kai shooting a doll to simulate the professor's murder scene. Kai was shocked to discover that Rabara had used real blood in the experiment, which splashed onto her shoes. There, Rabara explained he used real blood to make his analysis of the crime more accurate. Ernesto secretly retrieved the professor's laptop from storage and brought it to Alex. Together, they read through the professor's writings and found an article suggesting the professor was involved in investigating a murder in Cebu. This made Alex suspect that the professor was killed because of his involvement in the case. Afterwards, Ernesto returned the laptop to Rabara, but not before getting a scolding from EK, who thought Ernesto was meddling too much in the investigation. Soon after, Alex and Ernesto decided to meet Gloria, the wife of the man accused of killing Kai's mother. At that time, Alex disguised himself as the professor because Gloria was the last person the professor had contacted. Gloria believed her husband was innocent. After their conversation, Alex asked Ernesto to retrieve the file on Kai's mother's murder. When they looked at the file, they discovered that the professor was the last person to review it and believed he was killed because he found crucial evidence. They also noticed a logo in the files that matched Kai's ring, suggesting that Kai might be involved in her mother's murder, but they didn't believe this was true. Meanwhile, Kai was with Rabara and ignored a call from Ernesto. Soon after, Rabara took Kai to her mother's grave and then unexpectedly pointed a gun at her. It was then that Kai realized Rabara was trying to frame her for the professor's murder using fabricated evidence, from fingerprints on the gun to the blood on her shoes. Fortunately, Kai managed to turn the tables and pointed the gun at Rabara. Just then, Alex and Ernesto arrived and revealed that Rabara was actually the killer of Kai's mother. As Kai was about to shoot Rabara, Alex reminded her not to become a murderer herself. Shortly after, Rabara was arrested for his crimes. In a separate scene, in a nightclub in Bangkok, Thailand, a drunk man entered the bathroom followed by a hitman named Arthur Pink, who had a scar on his face. Moments later, Arthur emerged from the bathroom, having successfully completed his mission to kill the man and even took the man's finger as a souvenir. On the other hand, Alex was surprised when his uncle Danny, who was known for being a bit of a trickster, showed up saying he wanted to stay with him for a while to make up for past mistakes. At the same time, EK asked Kai and Ernesto to look into some counterfeit money that was being passed around at a resort in Cebu. They shared this problem with Alex, hoping he could help them catch whoever was responsible. Alex immediately became suspicious that Danny might be involved. Then, he checked Danny's golf bag and found a bunch of fake money. Even though Danny claimed he was just a victim who got the fake money when exchanging currency at the airport, Alex wasn't completely convinced by his uncle's story. Later, Alex went to a resort where a group of businessmen from Singapore were arriving for a golf tournament. At that time, Alex worried that Danny might try to scam these wealthy visitors. At the same time, Arthur, a hitman, also showed up at the resort, likely on a mission. Wanting to keep an eye on Danny and prevent any fraud, Alex decided to join the golf tournament, even though Danny had told him not to. During the tournament, Alex noticed that the golf shots from the businessmen were unusually off, leading him to suspect that Danny might have tampered with the golf balls. Danny, however, denied doing anything wrong. Meanwhile, Kai and Ernesto were busy questioning the resort staff to try to describe anyone who might have used counterfeit money. Back at the golf tournament, Danny sneakily switched the golf balls Alex was supposed to use, leading to Alex unexpectedly winning the tournament and some prize money. In that moment, Alex planned to expose Danny's cheating to the other players, but Danny quickly stopped him. Alex's efforts were also interrupted when Kai and Ernesto shared news about a blonde man with an Australian accent who was distributing counterfeit money. This made Alex even more suspicious of Danny. In fact, Danny had been secretly spreading fake money around Cebu. When Alex searched Danny's belongings at home, he found a blonde wig that Danny had used to disguise himself. Frustrated, Alex left the house and then ran into Arthur, who was looking for Danny. Realizing the danger, Alex rushed back to warn Danny to hide from the dangerous hitman. Soon after, Alex found himself at the police station being questioned by Kai and Ernesto. Turns out, a report from a Singaporean businessman had accused Alex of fraud. At the station, caught with fake money, Alex confessed about the various illegal activities his uncle had been involved in. Meanwhile, Danny, tired of hiding, decided to step out and encountered Arthur. Even though Danny offered him some money, Arthur was determined to carry out his task. Then, Alex showed up just in time, pretending to be Danny's lover to confuse the situation. Upon knowing that, Arthur, unfazed, forced them into his car to take them to a secluded spot to execute them. What Arthur didn't know was that Kai and Ernesto were secretly following Alex's car, ready to intervene. When they got to a remote location, Danny tried again to persuade Arthur by offering him more money, but Arthur was determined to go ahead with his plan to kill both Danny and Alex. Just as Arthur was about to act, Alex quickly subdued him. At that moment, Kai and Ernesto arrived, and Ernesto pretended to shoot Danny. This was actually a setup by Alex and the others to make Arthur believe that Danny had been shot dead. After securing Arthur, Kai and Alex told Danny to leave the Philippines for his own safety. Danny agreed, but at the airport, he sneakily stole money from Alex while hugging him goodbye. A few days later, a gang known as the Salovo Gang was spotted near Cebu International Airport preparing for a crime. Around the same time, a famous country singer from Texas named August Crow and his manager, Shelton David, arrived in Cebu for a concert. As fans gathered to welcome August, a young man suddenly snatched August's cowboy hat. Reacting quickly, August chased the young thief. Meanwhile, it looked like the gangsters were about to kidnap him. Fortunately, 2 airport security officers intervened and took August and Shelton to the police station for their safety. On the other hand, Kai and Ernesto, who were working on the Salovo gang case, explained that this gang often kidnapped famous people to demand ransom. They advised August to hire a personal bodyguard while he was in Cebu. Immediately, Kai and Ernesto recommended Alex for the job. Although Alex initially declined, he changed his mind and accepted when he realized the singer was August Crow, whom he admired. When Alex started his job as a bodyguard, he discovered that his idol, August, was taking a lot of sedatives and had become a heavy drinker. Meanwhile, EK, also a fan of August, instructed his team to look into the troublesome Salovo gang. That night, despite Alex and Shelton's disapproval, August insisted on going to a bar. At the bar, Alex continued to ensure security, but he mistakenly knocked down a man who just wanted an autograph from August. During the confusion, August slipped out alone and ended up being blackmailed by some thugs. Fortunately, Alex got there in time and defeated all the thugs. Afterwards, Alex took August back to the hotel and arranged for Sarah to check his health. The checkup showed that August's health was at risk due to his drinking and drug use. Shelton then shared more about August's tough life, including being abandoned by his wives and children. The next morning, Alex tried to cheer up August, who was struggling with many personal issues. Meanwhile, Kai and Ernesto reviewed airport security footage and identified the young man who had stolen August's cowboy hat. After questioning him, they learned he was paid to steal the hat but didn't know who hired him. Later, Alex took August to the beach to help him relax. But just when Alex was keeping a watchful eye from a distance, a gangster attacked him, allowing other gang members to kidnap August and force him into a car. Soon after, Alex quickly reported the kidnapping to the police, and Shelton expressed his disappointment with Alex for not being able to protect August. The police suspected that the Salovo gang was behind the kidnapping. Shortly after, the gangsters contacted Shelton demanding a ransom, instructing him to bring the money alone to a specific location and promising to reveal August's location once they received the payment. Despite the risks, Shelton decided to use his own money to pay the ransom, and Kai told Alex not to get involved. Even though Alex was worried that the gangsters might still harm August even after getting the money, Shelton then took public transportation to the drop-off location with the ransom money. Unbeknownst to him, Kai and Ernesto discreetly followed him. However, after the kidnappers took the money, they did not disclose August's whereabouts, who was actually being held in a boxing gym. Meanwhile, Alex decided to conduct his own investigation and successfully located August at the gym, just in time as he was about to be harmed. He immediately informed Kai and Ernesto about where to find the singer. While Kai and Ernesto were chasing the kidnapper who had taken the ransom money, Alex stormed into the gym and rescued August by defeating the gangsters. During the confrontation, The gangsters revealed they had been ordered to kill August. Unexpectedly, Shelton suddenly showed up, pointing a gun at both Alex and August. Shelton admitted he planned the kidnapping because he wanted to get an inheritance that August, who was drunk, had signed over to him. By getting rid of August, Shelton would get all the inheritance. Just when Shelton was about to shoot, Alex stopped him by hitting him with a guitar. Soon after, Kai and Ernesto caught Shelton, so that August could safely have his concert in Cebu. One day, EK called his team to talk about a very mean mafia boss from Hong Kong named Tommy Chow, also known as the Scorpion. Tommy, who runs many illegal businesses, was planning to come to Cebu soon for a wedding. There, EK asked Kai to secretly find out more about Tommy's group. Kai then told Alex to stay out of her mission because she was worried he might mess it up. Alex listened to her and didn't ask any more questions about her secret mission. The next day, Kai disguised herself as the manager of the event organizing team for Tommy's wedding. Ernesto and the rest of their team stayed in a hotel room, helping Kai by watching through surveillance cameras. Soon, Tommy, his future wife Amber, and his son Young arrived. While Kai was busy with wedding preparations, she was surprised to see Alex at the venue. She quickly asked him to leave. As Alex was leaving, he noticed a couple with tattoos that made him think they were rival gang leaders who might cause trouble for Tommy. Despite being seen as an intruder, Alex informed Kai about the couple. Kai then introduced Alex to Tommy as a makeup artist to cover up the situation. Later, as Amber was getting ready to marry into the mafia family, she used some perfume. Alex, pretending to help with her makeup, tried to gather important information but couldn't. That evening, during the reception, Tommy suddenly stumbled into the party area, collapsed, and died from poison. Amber and Young were visibly upset and shocked by the loss. At the same time, all the gangsters at the party drew their guns at each other, suspecting that someone among them had poisoned Tommy. Meanwhile, Alex examined the syringe used to kill Tommy and noticed it smelled different from cyanide, a common poison. He quickly shared this clue with Kai. Soon after Tommy's death, while the gangsters were planning a meeting, Alex quickly took Amber to her room. Meanwhile, at Young's request, Kai moved Tommy's body to a cold room until they could figure out who was responsible for his murder. When EK heard about Tommy's death, he sent a special team to the hotel in case things got out of hand. In her room, Alex told Amber that other gangsters might try to harm her. While she was using her perfume, Amber revealed that Tommy had chosen her as his successor. In the meeting room where the gangsters gathered, Kai pretended to deliver food but really wanted to listen in on their conversation. Meanwhile, Amber decided to flee the hotel with Alex's help. Alex stopped Young's men, who were trying to harm Amber as the gangsters had ordered. He then hid Amber in a cart of dirty laundry, tricking Tommy's men by making it seem like he was moving Amber's body. Soon after, Ernesto and his team started checking the hotel rooms one by one for clues. Meanwhile, Kai went into Amber's room and found a subordinate of Young's knocked out. She also discovered perfume that smelled just like the poison in the syringe. At that time, Kai started to suspect Amber was the one who killed Tommy. Shortly after, she quickly told Ernesto her suspicions, and Ernesto found out Amber was wanted for multiple murders where she used poison. It turned out Amber was actually a professional hitman hired by other gang leaders to weaken Tommy's control. When Alex realized this, he tried to capture Amber, but she injected him with poison. Luckily, Kai got there just in time to knock Amber out before she could kill Alex. After this event, police across different countries arrested the gangsters involved. And Alex, who survived the poison, was seen in the hospital recovering. Later, Alex had a nightmare about a mission in Spain 17 years ago when his colleague Todd suddenly attacked him. Oddly, the next day while Alex was at a resort in Cebu, he saw Todd again, but then lost sight of him. One day, Alex was surprised by someone knocking at his door, so he grabbed a boat thinking it was Todd. But when he opened the door, he couldn't believe it was his daughter, Evelyn, standing there. Evelyn told him she was in the Philippines for social work, but wouldn't be staying with him. She just came to return all the money and letters Alex had sent over the years. They started arguing because Evelyn was upset that Alex was always so busy with work and didn't spend time with the family. Alex tried to explain that his work was to keep them safe, but Evelyn wouldn't listen, and Alex suddenly fainted from his illness. Upon knowing that, Evelyn rushed Alex to the hospital. While she was waiting for the doctors, she saw Todd secretly at the hospital. Soon, A nurse told Evelyn that Alex was okay. Just then, Kai, Ernesto, and Ike arrived to visit. There, Kai recognized Evelyn as Alex's daughter and invited her to see him. On the other hand, Ernesto and Ike, seeing Alex was stable, left to go home, while Kai stayed to wait for Alex to wake up. Evelyn talked about how Alex had made her learn self-defense, like escaping from zip ties. Then, Corey and Rita came to visit, and Rita shared stories about Alex's kindness, giving Evelyn a healing crystal to help her dad recover faster. The next morning, after Alex woke up, he asked Kai about a man named Diego who he thought was in the bed next to him. Kai told him there were no other patients there, which made Alex worry that Diego, a possible gangster, might be a threat to his daughter Evelyn, who was doing social work nearby. Without hesitating, Alex removed his IV and convinced Kai to help him check on Evelyn. When they reached the area where Evelyn was working, Alex jumped out of the car to call her. At that moment, a group of gangsters kidnapped Evelyn and sped away in a car. Soon after, Alex and Kai tried to chase the gangsters, but they lost them after a truck blocked their way. At that time, Kai suggested they go back to the hospital while she would head to the police station to try to track down the car. Back in his hospital room, Alex suddenly remembered Diego had a tattoo that linked him to a gang in Cebu and realized Diego's group might have kidnapped Evelyn. Soon after, Alex went back to his shop, grabbed some weapons, and rode a motorcycle to the gang's area. Arriving there, he started shooting at the gangsters with a long-barreled gun and chased after Diego to find out where Evelyn was. After getting information from Diego, Alex headed to an empty building where his daughter Evelyn was being held. Just as he was about to rescue her, Todd and his men showed up with guns. At that time, Todd wanted Alex to steal a ledger from an accountant in Cebu and give it to Francisco Aguero, their former boss at the DEA who had once ordered Todd to kill Alex. To save Evelyn, Alex had no choice but to agree to Todd's demand and set off on the mission before Todd could harm her. Later, Alex made a video call to Todd to show he had killed the accountant and taken the ledger. Todd told him to bring the ledger back to the empty building to exchange it for Evelyn's freedom. After the call, it was revealed that Alex, along with Kai and Ernesto, had only pretended to kill the accountant to get the ledger. Soon after, Alex returned to the building and gave the ledger to Todd. Unexpectedly, Francisco, who wanted the ledger stolen, appeared and complimented Alex on his actions before taking the ledger and leaving. Once Francisco was gone, Todd was about to harm Evelyn, but she quickly freed herself from her zip ties, fought off Todd's men, and helped Alex. Kai then arrived, and together, they fight all of Todd's men. There, Alex asked Kai to take Evelyn to safety while he chased after Todd. When Kai and Evelyn got outside the building, there was a sudden explosion. They feared that Alex hadn't survived. But to their surprise, Alex was okay and had managed to defeat Todd, cornering him. Just as Alex was about to shoot Todd, Kai and Evelyn rushed to calm him down, and Alex decided to let the police handle Todd instead. In the final scene of the series, a few days later, Alex and Evelyn are shown at Alex's shop, having reconciled their differences. This happy turn of events pleased Kai and Ernesto, who dropped by to invite Alex to go surfing with them. This shows that Alex and Evelyn's relationship has greatly improved. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is never grab a boat, or to greet your guests, or you might scare off your daughter instead of a gangster. Also, pretending to be a makeup artist at a mafia wedding is a surprisingly effective backup career.